Hi, welcome back to the Britt Mayer Show and Happy New Year. We are in 2025. I can't believe it. I don't know where the last couple years went. I kind of feel like we're still in COVID era. It's like this weird thing where I don't know how did we get to 2025, but I still feel like COVID was just yesterday. So we're here, we're in 2025, and with 2025 and resolutions, I thought, what better way to start this year than to have an amazing registered nurse and registered dietitian on the show to talk with you directly and just really kind of frank about health and nutrition and taking charge of your health. So I am thrilled to welcome one of my personal good friends, Tori Jensen. She is a registered nurse for 13 years. She spent 5 years with Kaiser Permanente. She was fired from Kaiser for the COVID vaccine mandate. And that's actually when Tori and I first became friends, because I was like, who is this girl? She is so brave. You probably saw her. She was made famous for her walk up and down the steps, and we'll talk a little bit about that. She's been a registered dietitian for 18 years. She is a small business owner, a weight loss nutrition coach. She's the wife of a firefighter. She's absolutely amazing. She's a homeschooling mom of 9 and 11-year-old girls, a collegiate soccer player. I mean, she's everything. She's done everything. And she's also a First Liberty Institute ambassador. And she is on Instagram, X, and YouTube at the Tori Jensen. Tori, thank you so much for sitting down. I'm just so excited to have this conversation with you.
Thanks for having me.
So let's just dive right into it. Why don't you first give us a little bit of your background when it comes to what was not too long ago with the COVID vaccine mandate and how that really set you on a course to bring you to where you are now?
Well, I was working as a nurse on a COVID unit here in San Diego. 2021 comes around, the vaccine mandates are in full effect. God was very clear with me that that was not something he wanted me to do, that my body was very capable of handling COVID on its own. And so I was steadfast in that. And I thought I would be testing until the end of time, because I just tested twice a week, made sure I've never tested positive for COVID. I was on a COVID unit working with COVID patients day in and day out, which really, I think, speaks to taking care of your body. I mean, because I was a dietitian before I became a nurse, I think I have a different perspective about that. Nutrition, exercise, really managing stress, all of those things kept me, I fully believe, from having COVID and kept fortified my body so that I could be in there serving and taking care of those patients. Fast forward to October 2021, and I was on shift, and I got an email that my religious exemption for the COVID-19 vaccine had been denied. And so just because Kaiser is how Kaiser is, they asked me to finish my shift, which I laughed at them for that. And I stayed there all day.
Did they bring you in and tell you, okay, we're going to fire you, but could you just stay a little bit longer? They did?
It was just chaos. I
got
my stuff and I was going to leave. I was all mad. Yeah. And then I said, oh, I'm not leaving. I was like, no, I am not leaving. I mean, and not to get too much into it, but in July 2021, I stopped drinking. God was very clear with me that I needed to stop drinking alcohol, because I asked him, hey, God, I want to hear your voice more clearly. And clear as day, he said, okay, you need to stop drinking alcohol. And wow. My life has never been the same since then. So I felt like that was a preparation leading up to that moment. And God was like, no, this is your time. This is when I need you to speak truth and love over people and remind them about who I am and why we live in America and why we are so lucky to live in America. It protects all of our First Amendment rights. So I just sat down. I said, oh, change my mind. I'm staying. No, I will not finish my shift unless you guys want to hire me back, but I will make noise all day long about how illegal this is. And so they didn't like that very much. But this then put me on the springboard to say, okay, God, what am I going to do next? Because in California at the time, it was really hard to find a job as an unvaccinated nurse. So I dabbled with some clinic stuff. And then I said, you know what, I'm just going to use the knowledge that I have as a dietitian. I'm going to help women with weight loss. I'm passionate about that, coaching, simplifying nutrition so that people can actually apply it to their lives long term. And so that's what I've been doing.
Well, I wasn't going to ask you this, but you brought it up with the alcohol because I gave up alcohol. I lost count now. I think it was probably 3 years ago now. Like I said, everything from COVID to now, I feel like has been such a blur. Do you feel like that too?
Yes.
Where I'm like, how was that 5 years ago?
Yeah. How was Trump president 4 years ago? Like what?
I
What? He's back?
It's weird.
He's back.
Yeah, he's back. It's kind of like Groundhog Day, but let's not do Groundhog Day again.
No.
But so I gave up alcohol too, for similar reasons as you did. I'm curious what you noticed when you gave it up, short term and then long term, what your effects have been.
It's the greatest gift that I've ever received. So in the short term, spiritually, a darkness left me that I didn't know I had. I don't believe we can be spiritually possessed as Christians, but I do believe we can be oppressed. And I think that was just opening a door to a darkness in my life. And when I shut that door, the darkness left. And I really don't know how to explain it any other way. So that's the short term. And then that has never changed. Like God has just been speaking to me very clearly. Good days, bad days. It's not all roses, but I will never go back to drinking because being sober is so much better. And then physically, I had hormone imbalances before, and, I think I dealt with some anxiety, depression that I didn't really attribute to that. But alcohol is not necessary for your body. It's poison. It's the moment you drink alcohol, your body stops all metabolic function to start processing to get rid of it. So that just tells me it's like, oh, if your body immediately senses this as something you need to get rid of, then we don't need it. And it's not helping you.
Yeah, it's become so embraced in our society. But I noticed when I stopped drinking, at first it was like, okay, what do I hold in social settings? I think you were at my house actually when I had first given it up. And I just remember like trying all the things, like they had the mocktails, and so I don't even know, things in cans that looked like alcohol and give you something to hold. But I'm like, man, it's such a part of our society that you almost feel like you're missing something that you're supposed to be holding on to when you give up alcohol. So that was kind of like my gateway out of alcohol. And now I'm like, I say it when I go to a restaurant, it's like, I'm dry. I've been dry for a really long time and it's the best thing I've ever done. But it is weird how it's such a prevalent part of our society, but it's such a poison. I listened to the Huberman podcast. It was like 3 hours long on alcohol. I'll link it below because that blew my mind. And that was after I had given it up. But I'm like, oh my gosh, there is zero net gain from drinking alcohol. And I've been drinking since I was 21, maybe a little bit before that. It was a long history of having that as a part of my life. And so you almost don't know how good it is when you give it up because it's been, such a part of you. But long-term, like my sleep, my anxiety, my clarity of thinking, my reasoning, my relationships have significantly changed. And when I talk to people who still drink, they're like, I feel fine. It's like, but you don't know that you don't feel fine until you give it up. And also, like you said, my prayer life has totally changed too.
It's amazing. If you're hearing this and you are even thinking about it, then you need to try it. I have clients who are afraid to do it because they don't think they could do it. And I'm like, it's okay. Just try it. And like you said, having something at a party, a lot of times it's just that. It's not that you need to be drunk to be at a party. It's so habit that once you get over that uncomfortable feeling of everyone asking you, because other people are more uncomfortable with us being sober than we are. They're like, well, can I offer you something else? I'm like, no, I don't drink. What do you mean you don't drink? Why don't you drink? You don't ever? Well, it's not bad for you, is it? And I'm like, oh my God. So other people are so uncomfortable. So as soon as you just have to be okay with other people being uncomfortable. But the amount of freedom mentally that I no longer have this worry. Am I going to drink too much? How am I going to feel the next day? Or what if I say something I shouldn't say? If that's you, if you're hearing this, then it's taking up so much space in your mind that God wants to give for you to use other places. It has a hold on you that you don't realize.
Totally. And also, I think the gut-brain connection, Huberman really pulls that out. Is we have come a long way, and we're going to get into this with health. But understanding so much of our health comes from our gut, and our brain is directly connected to our gut. Like brain disorders now are being studied as actually being connected to the gut. And so when we throw poison into our gut, it wreaks havoc on not only our gut and our biome there, but also our brain and our pathways and neural pathways and all that. So yes, I also would encourage anyone who's even just thought about it. We're in 2025 in a brand new month, and this would be a great time to try it out, but give it 3 months, because I didn't notice most of the effects until past that. Would you say the same thing, or did you notice right away?
I mean, the spiritual aspect of for me was instantaneous, like nothing I can describe. But the physical piece of it did take time, and the mental like urge. I don't think I had a disorder, like an overuse problem. I've spoken to alcoholics and they say, well, you can be an alcoholic without having an overuse problem. You had a disordered way of thinking about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, absolutely. And a disordered way of using it to manage stress, like the mommy, like coffee till wine, that whole thing about using substances to get over your annoying kids, or just like, I'm just gonna have a glass of wine and forget about it. It's like, we are just using pacifiers instead of like what's best in order to get through life.
So good. Well, moving into kind of the nitty gritty of why I wanted you to come on here, but I love that we just got to add that bonus content. That's so good. I want to talk to you about, as a Christian dietitian, there aren't a whole lot of Christians in the industry, or if they are, I don't know of a whole lot of Christians that are in the diet industry or in the nutrition industry. I see a lot of new agers, of hyper spiritualists, of, everything is a pathway to utopia, and really like claiming the inner goddess. But as a Christian in this industry, you've seen the disconnect with our faith and our bodies and our health goals. And I'm curious why you think there is such a disconnect when the Bible really does lay out that our bodies are a temple, and there's such a connection to the physical realm, that we aren't just spiritual beings. So I want to know why you think there's such a disconnect, and how our faith as Christians radically should impact our view and our stewardship of our bodies and how we approach health.
Oh, that's so good. It's complex. And I'll just say this, I get into it, where people who are struggling with their health, there's a lot of you. I see you out there. What I'm going to say, I want you to be encouraged. And because I am going to challenge a bit, because we need to understand all of the things that are at play here and take some responsibility for our role in this. But really, taking a step back, the spiritual attack on our bodies is so real, and we don't talk about it. And until it was brought to my attention a few years back, I didn't recognize it. I just thought I was lazy. I had trouble being consistent with things. It was just because I, couldn't stick with it, whatever. But I really think that there is a spiritual component, because we bear the image of our Creator. And so how perfect is it that if Satan just plants the seed of discourse in our life, of laziness in our life, of confusion — you were talking about being confused about how to take care of your body — he can get an army of Christians to be on the couch because we're discouraged and we're tired and we don't feel well. And so from a spiritual perspective, it's a really great way to keep us dead in the water and to keep us from fulfilling God's purpose for us in this life. And so that's kind of deep. And I think that's a little heavy for a lot of people to take. They're like, whoa, I don't really think it's about that. It's more about, just your choices you make. But we are under spiritual attack. Our bodies are, because our bodies are the gift that God gives us to then fulfill our purpose in this world. And so if the enemy can keep us discouraged, tired, and just laid out on the couch, then, the army of Christians are not going to be as effective for the Lord. And it really is that practical, I think. It really is that diabolical. And you say, oh, no, it's diet and lifestyle. It's like, well, no, it's the way that we view our bodies, because this disconnect that you talked about, we view our bodies as separate from our mind and our spirit. And that keeps us from taking good care of it. And so that, I think, really goes back to that's not biblical. But where that changed was in the 1800s, where Darwin came in and said, you guys are just a clump of cells.
Mm-hmm.
And because we're just a clump of cells, then what you do with your body actually doesn't matter. And so we cognitively know that that is not true, but culturally we've taken that on. And we say, we can do whatever with our bodies over here, ignore it, treat it like trash, and it's not going to affect us mentally and spiritually, but it does.
Yeah. Well, and even going back to what we were talking about with alcohol, like there is it's poison in, it's poison out, like we're actually poisoning our temple. And that's why I love that you have such a view from a place of Christianity when it comes to health. So how do you think that view should impact how we approach as women, how should our faith inform health and nutrition?
And this is where it gets really personal, and it's very emotional for a lot of people, because for most of the women I work with, they don't like their body. They don't like how they look. They don't like how they feel. And, it's not just women who struggle with their weight that feel this way. It's a body image issue, and it's an absolute attack on women in general, to ruin the way that we view ourselves, for multiple reasons. So that we abuse ourselves, so we don't take care of ourselves, to distort our view of ourselves, because it causes chaos and destruction. So that's, again, the spiritual piece of it. So where do we move forward from there? Well, just recognizing that you don't like your body and that you don't feel connected to it is actually step one. You say, oh, gosh, I had no idea. And this was how I was. I didn't realize that I had my body over here and I wasn't connecting the two very well. And I said, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that taking care of my body is actually really important. It's a way that I can serve God. It's because he gave me this gift, but I didn't know how to do it. And I think that's where everyone feels really that we're struggling, because you want to take care of your body, but you just don't know how. And you've tried this diet and you've tried this exercise plan, and still you feel like you're a failure and you're not getting any good results. So we're kind of stuck here. So that's what I help women do, is really simplify that, and also to uncover the mindsets you might have that are keeping you stuck, like the lies that you're believing, like that your body's broken, that you can't be consistent with nutrition, or that you're not a workout person, so you're not going to move your body. It's like, what are the lies that Satan has planted? What are the seeds he's planted that we keep watering, right? So uncovering those making peace with your body and saying, okay, this is a situation. I don't like where my body is right now. I don't like what it's doing for me. However, I can still love it and take good care of it because I want it to work better for me. And it's a process. But we have to invite Jesus into this process. And I think that's also the piece that's missing, the conversation, is that Jesus will, in a relationship with him, will change your mind. It will change your perspective. He will give you the wisdom and discernment you need to then take care of your body. But you have to respond. You have to say, okay, I am going to show up and I'm going to be diligent and I'm going to do what I know I need to do to take care of my body, even when I don't feel like it, because I know it's best.
Yeah. And it's an act of worship. It's like the hyper spiritualists have like the inner goddess, mentality, that there's an inner goddess that needs to be, I don't even know what their terminology would be, but that's the focus, right? Is like that inner goddess that needs to be taken care of. But as Christians, we're like, no, our bodies are an actual temple. Like they will be resurrected. There will be glory in the future, but we are not just these spiritual, like we don't have an inner goddess. And then our physical is I don't even know how you would phrase it, but we as Christians believe that we are fully connected spiritual and physical beings, and that our bodies are a temple that's to be cared for, and that is an act of worship. When you work with your clients one-on-one, what are some of your most simple and most productive tips and tricks that you encourage them to take that can make their lives day to day much better and healthier?
Well, the first thing I would say is blood sugar control. This is the thing. This is the hill I'm going to die on. This is what everyone needs to understand, is how to fuel your body. When you understand how to fuel your body appropriately, it's going to work a whole lot better for you. So when you feel like you are out of control around food, or that your flesh, is screaming at you, it might be just that you have a blood sugar control issue. It's not that you have a lack of willpower or lack of control. You don't know, you have not been giving your body the fuel it needs. And so it's screaming at you. Your body's smart. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. So foundationally, if you don't know how to balance your blood sugar, I highly encourage you to learn how to do that. I have a simple mini course that's called the Sugar Solution, and it's all about how to balance your blood sugar, specifically talking about sugar cravings, because that's the number one complaint I hear from people. But even if you don't have sugar cravings, it's like nuts and bolts of, in a simple way, without giving up all of your favorite foods, how to build a balanced plate so you have steady energy throughout the day. And that's going to give you a healthy metabolism. And the reason that we have this metabolic crisis in our country is because we do not know how to balance our blood sugar, period.
Yeah, I think that's like a new topic for a lot of people. You and I have talked about it, but give me just some like simple, tangible ways that you can balance your blood sugar, and what it looks like if your blood sugar isn't balanced. Because for a lot of people, that might be brand new. They've never heard of that. They've heard of low fat. They've heard, what are some of the popular buzzwords that you hear in the industry? Like low fat used to be in the 90s, cholesterol, don't eat the eggs.
Everyone's doing
vegan.
carnivore. Everyone's doing carnivore right now. It's such a great question. So this is, again, why we're so confused, because we've been inundated with so much information. We're just like, we don't even know where to start. The reason why so many of these diets, like whatever diet you're doing right now for January, I guarantee you there's an element of it that has blood sugar control, and that's why it's working. Carnivore diet.
Interesting.
Yeah. Carnivore diet is, sometimes people are going as far as doing ketosis when you're in carnivore. What does the ketogenic diet do? It balances your blood sugar. That's why you don't have cravings. That's why you have better energy. That's why you're losing weight. Okay. You're able to then, your flesh isn't screaming at you. So you're able to go, oh, I actually only want one Oreo instead of the entire sleeve of Oreos. Okay. So Whole30, why does Whole30 work? Well, because you're not eating so much processed food. When you replace processed food with whole foods, you have more protein, more fats, more fiber, which all keep you full and satisfied. And so you're like, wow, I feel so good. Well, first of all, and you're not, don't have all the other trash in there. But blood sugar control is an integral part of all of these diets, is why they're successful. So if you don't want to ever have to do a diet again, if you don't want to have to give up all of your favorite foods, like pizza is my favorite food. Okay. I don't want to give up pizza. All right. So how do you include a piece of pizza and still balance your blood sugar? Well, first of all, you want to take away the moral value that food has and just look at it. What is pizza? Pizza is basically carbs and fat. That's basically what pizza is. Okay. So we're taking the moral value away from food. Pizza's not good or bad. It just is what it is. So how can I include a piece of pizza and still balance my blood sugar? Well, pizza, if you need to, protein, fat, and fiber are the three things that you want to build your meal around to balance the carbohydrates in your body. So carbohydrates are your body's preferred source of energy. They're not the enemy. If you read in the Bible, like, what did they eat? They ate bread every meal. Well, why could they eat bread and not have it cause problems for them? Because they were moving their body all day, every day. So we are not active and we do not have very much muscle. So we do not need to be eating carbs like we're professional athletes over here. We do not need to be carb loading. Okay. So you need carbs, but not as much of them as you've been getting. And you need to make sure that you're having, for the most part, carbs from real food sources that have more protein or more fiber. So let's go back to the pizza. Pizza, if I've got carbs and fat with pizza, I'm missing protein and fiber. So I'm just going to add a salad with chicken before my piece of pizza, and I'm going to manage my portion by only having one piece of pizza. I'm not telling you how to eat. I'm just saying that would be how I would manage my blood sugar without giving up my favorite foods. This is
that way you're not depriving yourself.
Yeah.
Which I think the deprivation diets are where people go crazy. Like I remember being like probably early 20s doing the cabbage soup diet. And I was like, oh my gosh, I lost so much weight. I feel so good. And then as soon as I started eating like a normal human again, all the weight came back on and I felt crappy, all over again. But it was
Yeah.
because it was not 100% not sustainable. And the cabbage soup tasted horrible by day 4, but I just kept powering through it. But it was deprivation. It was like I was depriving myself of full nutrition, like a full
Yes.
spread. And I think that's where a lot of people do these yo-yo diets where they're like, oh, if I deprive myself, then I'm going to hit that whatever goal it is for that individual. But we can only deprive ourselves for so long, when it comes to how we should actually be eating and fueling our bodies. So when we're taking out necessary fuels because we think that's the magic ticket, it's not sustainable, and you end up in this yo-yo state. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And that basically the cabbage soup diet is just a very low calorie diet, right? So you're gonna lose weight, but what you're losing is muscle. And so that's why as soon as you started eating food again, you put the weight back on. I mean, like
Yep.
you lost muscle and water weight. That's what you were doing. So the best way to lose weight sustainably is to balance your blood sugar and lift weights. You need to build muscle. And this is really hard for us, especially if still have a diet mentality about weight loss, where you jump on the scale and you're like, oh my gosh, the scale went up. I've been doing this, and this happens for a lot of my clients. Their scale will go up before it comes down because they're building muscle. And it takes a while for the scale to actually follow suit. And for you, because your muscle is working so much harder for you than fat. So you're burning calories in your sleep when you have muscle. And muscle is the best way to maintain your weight loss once you get it. So you can go on a crash diet, but then you're going to gain the weight back because you don't have any muscle. So this is actually what's happening with Ozempic. You've heard of like the skinny fat that's happening. So it's medically induced anorexia is what Ozempic is.
Okay.
People are, that's what it is. And now again, there's some that are have the dose that's much smaller. And it's a tool to help people who are really struggling with managing their weight and their diabetes. I get it. But the majority of people are taking it and they're not changing their diet and they are not lifting weights. They're not doing the things that are going to actually help them keep the weight off should they ever go off the medication. And why do people have their hair falling out from Ozempic? Because they're malnourished. That's what's happening. So you're starving yourself skinny, but you're losing muscle and you're wrecking your metabolism.
So how do you start your day? Like what's your Tori Jensen is starting her morning off? What does it look like? What's on your plate? And then what are you doing physically alongside that?
Well, that's a great question. I have kids, right? And so I would love it if my morning was like exactly the same every morning. It was just this beautiful thing, but that's not how it is. That's not realistic. And so I have these non-negotiables. I have non-negotiables that I move around like little puzzle pieces. So my non-negotiables for my morning are Bible study. I do my red light therapy in the morning, and I do some kind of movement in the morning. And and have a high protein breakfast. Those are my non-negotiables. Now, I do some kind of movement. That might even be just stretching and deep breathing exercises while I'm doing my red light therapy or reading my Bible. But I do weightlifting 3 times a week. So whether I do that in the morning or whether I just have my morning blows up in my face because of my kids and our homeschool schedule, whatever, the dog ripped up something. I mean, this is real life, right? Then I move that puzzle piece to later in the day. I don't say, oh, my morning blew up in my face, so I'm not going to then do my workout. I'm just going to move that workout to later. So really focusing on what you can do instead of looking at what you cannot do.
That's really good. I just started red light. Did I tell you that? I started using red light therapy. I know. I'm very excited. I got the Loom box. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
It's so great because it's like portable. So we brought it out to Sedona when we were just there. I love it. And actually my kids were sick it was the forever sickness that everyone, as you know, is getting right now.
Yeah.
And so I've always been very holistic, after cabbage soup diet.
Yeah.
I've always been very holistic. But so we were doing like castor oil packs on the kids and all the tinctures. And then I started red light therapy and noticed like a significant change with their healing. But red light therapy is such an underrated thing that I think is starting to become more of a part of the conversation. But I love that you do it in the morning. I've been doing it at night, but because it gives you that boost of all the all the good energy, you know, that your body needs down to the mitochondrial level, which is exciting. Tell me more specifically. I really want to get it out of you, what you eat in the morning. What I want to know, what is on your plate.
Absolutely. Well, I keep it simple. And this is where you really have to look at your life and you go, okay, I am constantly chasing like the shiny object, and I really just need to keep it simple. Like
Mm-hmm.
everyone's like, tell me exactly what to eat, and and I'll eat it. And I'm like, well, what do you like? And they're like, no, just tell me what to eat. And I said, keep it simple. Have two breakfast options. Like I literally eat the same two things like every other day because it's simple. It keeps me fueled. I'm not looking for food to give me my yayas in the morning. Like food is fuel. I
Mm.
enjoy my food. I don't eat food that I don't like, but I'm also not looking at food like it's the most exciting part of my day. Like it's an essential part of taking care of my body. Just like putting gas in your car, it's an essential part of taking care of your car if you want it to work well. So if you're running on fumes, if you're skipping breakfast, you're running on fumes for the rest of the morning, and you wonder why you're starving and you have low energy and you're just craving sugar and caffeine and you don't feel good. And it's because you're not fueling your body properly. Okay, so my two favorite breakfasts, probably my go-to because it's so easy and I just can't be bothered to be cooking in the morning most of the time,
Yeah.
is a yogurt bowl. So I do Greek yogurt and I do berries because that's my fiber. So Greek yogurt, it's got the protein and the fat and some carbs in there. I do berries because they're a high fiber source of carbohydrates. And then I do nuts and seeds. That's it.
Hmm.
It's really boring. And then sometimes I'll drizzle honey. Sometimes I'll add some chocolate because I'm feeling frisky and I want some
Fancy.
chocolate in there. But I do like a version of that almost, a couple times a week. And then I'll make a smoothie, kind of the same thing. It's basically taking my yogurt bowl and like blending it up and adding some vegetables in there, some
Mm.
spinach and protein, some protein powder. And then my other more of like a savory breakfast, I would say, is like eggs and vegetables and fruit. So basic, like nothing earth shattering, no special recipes. And I really think like, not to be overemphasizing this, but we've made it so complicated
Yeah.
that we don't
That's what I
even,
was going to say.
yeah, you're like,
Totally.
wait, that's all you eat? Yeah, I eat that
Yeah.
and some version of that on repeat.
I think that's so helpful because even we're up against like the Instagram feeds, you know, I follow so many like foodies or health gurus, and it looks so pretty, and I save everything and then I don't make anything because I'm like, it's 5 million ingredients and like having to import some chicken from Rome, and I don't have time. Like it
Yeah.
looks really pretty, but then I think that's where the burnout comes from, is it's like we're up against this standard that's fully unattainable, and it's certainly not sustainable. Maybe if you're in the industry and you're like, you make your living off posting pictures that are real pretty and compelling,
Yeah.
but I think it's so good to hear that it can be actually so simple. You know, it's yogurt with some granola and some fruit, and like you get on with your day. Do you feed your kids the same? Like, when you make your breakfast, is it like that's what everyone eats, or do you do different stuff for your kids?
No, they get their own breakfast. I'm a big fan of like, listen, if you want to start learning how to take care of your body, your kids have to be an active participant and they have to be making their own choices too. And you kind of have to walk them through that. Like I'm going to throw my daughter under the bus right now and you guys are going to think, oh my gosh. But Lana, my youngest, I walked in the other day. She'd been home by herself just for a few minutes while I ran Lexi somewhere. And there was a stool. She'd taken a bar stool, which is like so dangerous. That's what I was actually mad about. And she put it in front of the cupboard to get to the powdered sugar that was on the top shelf. And she like left a trail of powdered sugar. It looked like it was snowing in my house. There was like white stuff, and then her footprints were her footprints were on the stool, and it was like sticky everywhere. And she was nowhere to be found. She had like run off to
Oh yeah.
hang out with my parents. And so
Yeah.
later I was like, hey, I noticed that you ate some powdered sugar earlier. And she was like, did you know?
You're like, it's intuition, mom's
Yeah,
intuition. We know everything.
I go, you left the powdered sugar everywhere. You were like had footprints on it. Like, and she goes, I did. I said, yeah. And so she didn't get in trouble for doing that. I said, I'm actually really upset that you would stand so dangerously on that stool. I really wish you had taken the step stool. The reason I'm telling you guys this is because this is how I talk to my kids. I'm like, hey, were you hungry when you stuck your hand in the powdered sugar? And she was like, yeah. And I said, okay. So your body was telling you exactly what was right. Your body was low on fuel. You needed some fuel. So it was screaming at you to get some carbohydrates. That's what low blood sugar feels like. And so next time I need you to eat a meal first, with some protein and fiber in it before you have your dessert. And sticking your hand in powdered sugar is probably not the best dessert. Like maybe let's come up with something else. And it's letting them make mistakes, just like anything, right? Letting them make mistakes and you coaching instead of saying no powdered sugar, no dessert.
Yeah.
Because it really sets them up for not understanding how to include it either. And it's messy. And it's a lot of education. And my kids love sugar just as much as anybody else's kids. But I'll have a conversation with them and be like, hey, how do you feel after eating that? And they're like, not that good. And I'm like, okay, well, that's probably because that was a lot of sugar. And so the next time, let's lower the amount of sugar in that and let's make sure we've got some protein and fiber with that. So my kids could teach nutrition classes. Do they do it every time? No. But I'm giving them enough freedom. That's my hope anyway. I'm having those conversations with them so that they know that they get to make those choices for themselves and how to do it.
It's so good. I love, because you're so down to earth, Tori. That's why I love you. I love that you have actual interactions with your clients and you're so simplistic, and you also have daughters. So you're able to come from that vantage point too. I wanted to chat with you a little bit of the whole daughters situation and how, as Christian moms of daughters, I have a daughter too, we are kind of in uncharted territory with social media and this hyper synthetic edited world where everything looks really pretty and really skinny and curved in all the right places and lifted for forever, and no one ages. And, it's even like this explosion of pornography and how women have become almost just cartoons. I've been deep diving into OnlyFans and just what a draw that is for so many young girls. I think that there needs to be a conversation about how we need to raise daughters to be confident, healthy, and comfortable in their own skin and not feel like they're constantly up against the comparison game that is not even real, even with AI. Like it's I feel like it's all coming so fast and there's not really a blueprint for it. So in your industry, you have to deal with this head on. So how do you deal with it? What are practical tools and tips you can give to moms listening right now who are raising daughters in this hypersynthetic world to keep our girls grounded and confident?
It's such a challenge, and I'm still working through it. I mean, my kids are young, so I can't say with great confidence the ways that I'm doing it's going to work, but I really think you have to have honest conversations with your kids, and you have to also be a good example for them and talk to them about what real life looks like, and how I struggle with how I don't like how I look all the time. But that's okay. God made me this way, and God didn't make any mistakes with me, and he didn't make any mistakes with you either. And like I tell my daughter, and we have this one ear that sticks out. It's so genetic. It's crazy. Like just this left ear sticks out. And it's generations back. You can see pictures of people and this ear is just sticking out. And as a kid, I hated the fact that my ears were sticking out. But then as you grow older, you go, oh, this is how God made me. This is so cool. And we don't have to like everything about our bodies, especially when it's not working well for us. Like, my daughter's starting to get zits and we're having a conversation about that. Well, hey, you're making sure that your skin, you take care of your skin. It actually starts on the inside. So that starts with what you're eating and what you're drinking and the perfumes you're using or not using or all this stuff. So like, usshering them, coming alongside of them and showing them how you do it, talking to them, not trying to hide from them and hide your struggles from them, but also be honest with your shortcomings and where you need to get healing. And I think that's how we prevent the next generation from being stuck where we are stuck. is we show them what it's like to care more about how your body works for you than about how it looks. So we don't balance our blood sugar to stay skinny. We balance our blood sugar to stay healthy. So it's like, if you want easier periods, then balancing your blood sugar is the number one thing you can do. So if you want to have less anxiety and depression, then you going for a walk outside is how you do that.
Hmm.
And so just like I said, I'm still wading through this, but I also think there's a big, it's not just moms, but there's a big responsibility from dads to speak
Mhm.
life over their daughters. Because looking at my friends who have healthy relationships with their bodies, the majority of them have healthy relationships with their dad, and it's kind of wild to see that, and like science is supporting that as well. The dads actually have a big impact. So the way that you talk to your daughter about your body matters.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I want to have you back on and we'll deep dive into that even more because I really do think that just this new world that our kids are being raised in and the fact that we don't have a blueprint for this. We're the first ones parenting in all of this. And just there are so many approaches that we can take now. Like you said, how we as moms how we live out our comfort level with our bodies and even the things that we're not comfortable with, how the words we use in front of our girls, the things that we're looking at online that they're exposed to, what our husbands are looking at online and what
Mhm.
they're exposed to, and the words that they're using in our family unit. Um, I just think that can be a whole additional conversation, but it's so important, and it's going to affect the next generation of young girls who are going to become women. Okay, I want to transition real quick into you applying for the MAHA transition. How do we pronounce it? Is it MAHA? Is it MAHA? I can never get it
I
right.
think it's
The Make
Maha.
America Healthy Again. What is it?
I think it's Maha. I don't know though.
Okay, we'll go with Mahad with the Make America Healthy Again transition team. And yeah, I just want to talk to you for a minute about that because you applied, you got a call back that I am so excited about. I think you are needed in this role and this new thing that's being created that I am very hopefully optimistic about under RFKJ, who it sounds like is going to be confirmed. It sounds like he has enough votes. Very exciting. I want to know what significant positive changes that you are hopeful for in the next 4 years that you're hoping to bring to Team Maha.
Well, for my clients who are listening, don't worry, I'm not leaving you guys. It's the best job I've ever had. But I was presented with an opportunity to apply to the Maha transition team to serve my country well. I mean, I'm a military kid. Like, I can't think of a better way of giving back to my country than to be a part of this historical moment where we actually have an opportunity to make big changes in
Yeah.
the future health of our country. Um, I think, again, going back to blood sugar, that is, it all hinges on that. If every single person understood how to balance their blood sugar, then we wouldn't have a chronic disease problem in this country. Even if, well, because here's the deal, they're going to get rid of red dye 40. I'm sure they will. They're going to get rid of some of the chemicals in our food. Okay, that's good. But they're not going to get rid of all the sugar. That's still going to be around. We're still going to have highly processed options. They're not going to get rid of Coca-Cola. Okay, that's not going anywhere. So we have to understand how to balance our blood sugar if we want to see change. So I'm talking about like a massive overhaul in how we do things because we're throwing money right now into all these programs that no one knows about and they're not
Hmm.
actually affecting change. Like up here in our government, we're doing all these health programs and no one knows about them. I looked these all up and I was like, I've never heard of these, or I've heard of
Wow.
them, but I don't know what they mean. The doctors aren't using them. Everyone's getting their information from social media. Everyone's
That's true.
getting their health information from their favorite influencer. And so if we want to capitalize on this, we have to meet people where they're at. But I think, again, it all hinges on blood sugar control for metabolic health.
Did you see the San Francisco fat guru that just got brought brought
Yes. Yes. And
What
you did
the
I read your
heck?
Substack on that. It's really good. If you guys are listening,
Oh,
you haven't read that, or you're not subscribed to her Substack, it's really good.
I'll link it below. I was shocked. I thought it was pretend. And then I went in and I did I don't even remember what her name is right now. It's somewhere in my brain, but I was shocked that this is actually what California is doing. I mean, it shouldn't come as a surprise, but I never cease to be amazed at what California spends our money on. So talking about government programs, it's like, oh, up in San Francisco, we are using our tax dollars to fund a body positivity fat guru who thinks that the word health is like a bad word and we should just all get real fat and be, which is so sick because that it is going to make people so chronically ill and feel like there's no reason to even want to be better. You know, like you said, these are influencers who now are being put in positions of power to help shape the cultural conversation. And what we have seen historically, outside of what Reagan tried to do, and even JFK was amazing with what he worked on. We are seeing like this whole movement of body positivity where it's like there is no desire to be better, no pursuit of excellence, really like no real conversation of no, if you are actively fat just because you think that's body positive, you're not going to live very long and you're going to have chronic diseases. But now that's not politically correct. We can't say that.
Yeah. It's the upside down world. It's just bad information, actually. And I think body positive is great. Body positive is great, but that's not the whole story. Body positive at the expense of your physical health is not positive. Because I guarantee you that if that girl is not already on, I forget her name too, if she is not already on medications because her physical body is breaking down on her, she will be. And she will see the unfortunate effects of what happens when you don't take care of your body. Inflammation, high blood pressure, chronic diseases like diabetes, cancer, heart disease, hormone imbalances, anxiety, depression. It's a bad message to be sending to our young people. But I think it just is more of like the clown world that we live in, that you can do whatever you want with your physical body and it has no impact on your mind and your spirit. And it's
and that there's a quick fix for it. Like if you do sell yourself with the lie that you can be fat and call that body positivity and be super unhealthy, well, there's a quick fix because we've got Ozempic right around the corner, or you can cut and paste, or you can, there are all these quick fixes, but at your literal gut level, you aren't healthy. And that's why I am so excited for RFKJ hopefully getting confirmed and taking this bull by the horns. And I said RFK a minute ago, I meant JFK, but just to really pick up where that baton was left. So are you excited about this opportunity with Maha? Are you hopeful with all of this?
Absolutely. I just think that we need a fresh take on things. If we actually want to make a change, and we have such an opportunity to do that now is the time. And I want to be a part of that. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what God has in store for me there. I'm just trusting that He's got a plan for all of that. And if I can be a part of it, fantastic. If not, I'll keep doing what I'm doing over here, helping women lose weight sustainably without giving up all their favorite foods. It's been the best job I've ever had. But I'm so excited that we are going to have this opportunity, but there's going to be fights. Like already the fat positivity, that is how they're pushing back and basically mocking people trying to get healthy. And it's so weird. It's like the
and shaming. There's like a sense of shame too. Like that was this whole, and again, my article will be linked below, but whoever this new San Francisco fat guru is, she's on record talking about cake and like basically shaming you if you're a woman at a party who says, no, I'm going to pass on the cake, or I'll just take half a piece instead of that full huge cake, then you should be shamed. She had all these words, but basically you're a bigot. You are shamed for trying to pursue health, and now this is being embraced in San Francisco, which I think is a way to Trump-proof California, on every level, even when it comes to health.
That's really interesting. And the fact she's a food bully, that's what I called her. I was like, she's a
Yeah.
bully. She is straight up doing, I'm sure she was bullied for being obese as a kid. And I really do like think I have a lot of compassion for people who have struggled with weight their whole life. But she is now coming full force and saying, if you want to take care of your body, you shouldn't be able to, because that's they're telling you you need to be fit your body into another size. It's like, well, no, I want my body to work better for me. I don't feel
Hmm.
great. You hear about people who get canceled who try to come out of the fat positivity movement, and they get shunned for deciding, oh, I'm having trouble getting up from the couch and walking to my front door. I don't really like that. I don't want that anymore. And so I'm going to actually start pursuing weight loss, and then they get fully ousted from the community. So it's
Interesting.
yeah, it's a
It's not as
similar,
inclusive as they want you to think it is.
not at all. And it's like that person at the party that's like, "Oh, you're not drinking? Oh, you're like better than us because you're not eating cake. You're
Yeah.
so much better than us. Like I can have as much cake as I want." It's such a rebellious, like childish mindset.
Hmm. Hmm. And it's shaming. It's shaming you into feeling like you shouldn't speak against what is clearly meant to keep people unwell and dependent on the pharmaceutical industry. And in this case, up in San Francisco, to Trump proof, what he's trying to do with RFKJ. I am so hoping that you get that call this week and that you're on the team, Tori. I told you when you called me and said that you got on, or you got the call back. I just see you in that role. I'm so excited. I know that your clients are rooting you on too. For women who fell in love with you in this podcast, like I love you, and want to know more about what you're doing, to look into becoming one of your clients, how would they do that?
Well, you can follow along wherever you get your social media content at the Tori Jensen, and there in Instagram I have my stand store, which is like it's has all my links to all my things. But if you go to my website, torijensen.org, you can apply to work with me too and kind of hear more about what I'm about. But really, if you have been struggling with weight loss for a long time and you just need someone to hold your hand, come up with a personalized strategy, and help you work through the maybe mindsets that are holding you back, that is what I love doing. And it's possible for you. Your body is not broken.
So good. And then you're on Instagram at the Tori Jensen. Is that on
Yes.
Instagram? I'll put everything below, but for those just listening, it's at the Tori Jensen on
Yes.
X. You're new on X too. I told you, I was like, you need to get on X.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
a
you're
whole
over
new
there.
world over there. It's so different.
It's so different. When people ask me about it, it's like it literally feels like moving to a different country where you have to learn like a whole new language. You're like, what I was doing over here doesn't work and it's not translating the same way. But I'm so glad that you're on X too. And then you started a podcast. So you've got that going, which we were laughing because you do that from your car. And
Mhm.
I was saying, yeah, a car is way easier because the acoustics and the visual is great in a car. And here it
Yeah.
takes so much work.
Yeah, yeah, and for just as like a last bit of encouragement for you people is that it can't be perfect. You just have to start, and you just have to keep showing up, and you have to keep going. So the way that you keep going is you just set goals that are realistic for your life and know that it's not going to be perfect, and you keep plugging along. And that's why I started a podcast in my car, because I wanted to start one, and I really don't have the time and the acoustic, like the noise. I have construction people in my backyard right now that I told them they had to be quiet for an hour, and it's like my car is better. So anyway.
I love it. I love you. I'm so thankful for you. I definitely will have you come back on and we'll talk more. I really want to talk more about raising daughters in this culture with you, because I think your vantage point on that is truly so unique. But I'm so thankful for just the wisdom that you share and how many women you are encouraging to be connected with their body, from that's okay as a Christian to be connected and concerned with our body. I think that there's been this lie kind of sold to Christian women for a long time where we're supposed to not care about our bodies and the way that we look. And it's either you get one end or the other, where it's like you're supposed to be hypersexual and super beautiful and have everything perfect. Or if you're a Christian, you're supposed to wear muted colors and no makeup and have a lot of babies and stay fat. And I think that what I love about your approach is you're like, let's find the middle, but where does the Bible like actually land on this? And we are supposed to treat our bodies like a temple. So how can we get there without becoming obsessive, and how can we make it sustainable? So I just love you. I'm thankful for you. Thank you for coming on, and let me know as soon as you hear back from Maha.
I will. Love you too. Thanks for having me. It was such a privilege.